Jennifer, I'm sure that you saw that last night. I shook more hands than any human being is capable of doing. That was a long deal, and they were big people. But they were starving for love because our country didn't give them love.
We bring the love, people. We bring it.
Jennifer, I'm sure that you saw that last night. I shook more hands than any human being is capable of doing. That was a long deal, and they were big people. But they were starving for love because our country didn't give them love.
See, this is the whole world. The entire world is just so hungry for love. And if you have the love, then you know what you need to do is just share it. That's why we're here, is to share love. And I can prove it. In the story, The Christmas Carol, Jacob Marley tells Ebenezer Scrooge that what the key to life is, why we are here. He tells you in the first 10 minutes of the movie, the one in 1984 with George C. Scott playing Ebenezer Scrooge. It's a fabulous take. And in this scene, Jacob Marley tells Ebenezer what he's learned since he passed away, and if he could do things differently, what he would do now that he knows what he was here for to begin with. And it's right there. They are hungry for love. Now, why us? What is the American dream? Why did they always say that? And why are we so vilified and impoverished and attacked? And why is there the white trash and the orphan trains and the vaccines and the hospitals and the horrible dental torment we all went through? What was the whole point of all that? And it doesn't make any sense. And I know there's this whole Jewish thing, the chosen people. I was a minister in a Southern church, and the preaching was, Israel was to be protected and honored and everything. That was key to your faith. And so we were trained to protect Israel and to give to Israel and go see the Holy Land as this benevolent place. And, it was after that I went back to college and learned that the Bolsheviks were actually the Jews. And it was run out of New York, out of the UN. And so is the Russian Federation. Interesting. But they're all the same people. They just have different names, and they're basically central banks. They're not really countries. They're just central banks with the name. And I try to listen to everybody. I listen to the Jews. I listen to a lot of Slavs, I listen to, just regular Americans, musicians, construction workers, waiters, I listen to everybody. And all different persuasions and colors. Asians. I've been told that I'm way more Asian, Oriental. I'm Oriental on the inside than some of our Oriental friends. So, I don't know. But anyway, there's when Jacob Marley is carrying around these blocks all chained around him, and he said we were to go abroad and to share in moments of happiness if we could. And if we didn't, then we would do the same thing after we died, but we wouldn't be able to share in it. but we would still have to witness it. And he was trying to save Ebenezer by showing him that nothing is guaranteed. And we shouldn't take anything for granted, especially when it comes to a human life. And that it's become commodified so that it's only a dollar amount. And so these central banks have captured the essence of humanity. And that's our only prison, is believing that is right. But there's an easy remedy to that. And it derives from, if you look up the Slavic Vedas, just like the Mahabharata, and there's all these Vedas, the Hindu Vedas, but they're Slavic Vedas, and they all are saying the same thing, but it's in a different language. And so the expression of it is different. But everybody's hungry for love. That is true. And we have become very isolated, and travel wasn't really encouraged, and we weren't really educated about other countries and the different ways that they do things. And some countries are very, very different than us in their whole approach to life. So we sort of stumble, we kind of trip over the cracks in the sidewalks and look foolish because we're so awkward. And we don't have those graces. We weren't taught in the culture of this harmony that came before us. And so we've become kind of clumsy and a little gullible, naive, but also dangerous, because we've kind of been emboldened to express ourselves. But what we're expressing is that confusion of all that we've been taught, which is completely against just natural cosmological law. So we have to, that when you know it, it humbles you. And that's the whole point of knowing. It's not to have some kind of, notch in your lipstick case. It's to humble you so that you realize how much you do and did not know. And so it's not a good idea. They call it audacity, to be audacious when you don't know what you're talking about. It's really a dumb thing to do. Super, super dumb. And that's what makes you, like I've been saying, people are really making fools of themselves, but their hubris is that they don't care that they're making a fool of themselves. They're as ignorant as that. And so those are the, we're each responsible for our own monad, and where our minds are also, they go on. And that was spoken, now that I can prove that one also, because in the Outer Limits, episode 1, The Galaxy Being, from 1963, in June, I believe, it came out, and he said that Cliff Robertson is asking the galaxy being, what is God? He said, God is the electromagnetic forces. He says, oh no, I mean creative intelligence, sentient. He said, yes, infinity is God. The electromagnetic forces. It's a currency, and it is benevolent and intelligent. He said, does my brain go on after death? He said, yes. He asked him if he had death. He said, no, there is no death. And we're carbon cycle. Carbon. They are nitrogen cycle. There's different cycles. There's hydrogen cycle. But they're nitrogen. So I find that not many people speak of the nitrogen cycle. And also, this ties into the movie called The Ghosts of Berkeley Square. And they say Barclay. It's Old English. The Ghosts of Berkeley Square. There are no nightingales in Berkeley Square. It's an old Masonic movie. And when he gets the instruction book on how to materialize as a ghost, the story is about these two old soldiers from 1708 that end up inadvertently killing themselves. They fell into the cellar and both died, and they immediately became ghosts for 200 years. This movie, 1947, is post-World War II. And it shows like the house becoming a hospital for the army. And yeah, so the book, instruction booklet, tells them how to materialize in status quo, in statu quo. So, and then there's other descriptions of how to materialize in the status quo. And but these are temporarily for emergency situations or for some specific purpose. You materialize, but it's only for a short time because they're ghosts. They're disincarnate. Now, in the movie I just saw, A Place of One's Own, also around 1948, the ghost in this movie plays the piano and possesses this young woman who she identified with. And she becomes very sick. And they don't know why she's sick. But they kind of have a feeling it's because of the ghost. They never say she's crazy when she starts talking about, this other being living in her heart, and it's not her, and she knows it's not her. And she's playing the piano, and she's playing songs and reciting poetry that she's never heard before. She's never read it. She didn't write it herself. She has no idea where it came from. It wasn't her, and she knew it wasn't her. So the doctor comes from London to check her out, and the man of the household says to her, I'll tell you why she's sick. This house is haunted. And the doctor says, oh, my friend, he said, if I believed what everybody says, you would say that the very highways are congested with the souls of the departed. Okay, and so all these different embodiments of ghosts in all these different movies, and there's always this sound. It's sort of like, ooh, that theremin, that old 60s instrument, the little thing, you turn it, and it's kind of like a horn or something, a theremin. Ooh, they used that in like the Outer Limits and, Rod Serling, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So, whenever there is a ghost situation where the spirits are mingling or the ethers are, it sort of thins out the person's personality. They're either resting or they're sick or there's some kind of, like an arrival or a departure, or this very often thunderstorms with loud lightning and crackles of this, and the noir kind of movie theme. But that's not uncommon. So that sound generally accompanies, even if it's like a positive, happy kind of thing going on, that sound still appears. So these forces that we, travel along in as immortal souls, is for the spreading of love. I used to have dreams of being on flying expeditions with half a dozen other pilots. And we'd go to certain sectors of the world, and it was bigger than the world. It was like the galaxy. And this was way back before I ever saw Vibes of Cosmos or the moon theories or anything. These were dreams I had, and I was a pilot. And ace pilot, and the leader of the pack. I think I had 5 in my specific troop, but it was worldwide, it was cosmos wide. And we used to swoop down whenever we saw kind of like those nasty bugs. We'd blast them with light and give love to the people. Every place. And here Trump is going to Saudi Arabia, and he's seeing these people, and, and to us, they're larger than life, but they're human beings. And they need love. And he's saying that for a long time we didn't bring love. So I'm really sure what dynamic this is. Can you imagine? It appears that those Bolshevik type haters. Okay, so here's another connection with something I saw in media was Roseanne. She has a podcast, and she had that some guy like owns a company. I forget. But anyway, he was instrumental in doing the behind-the-scenes stuff to get Trump and everybody where we're at right now. And he said that the Bolsheviks have a particular seething hatred of white Christian races. And, use Christian and not in the American sense, because that's how they define the light. It's not churchianity, USA. It's, when they say Christian, they mean not the moon gods. And the moon and snake gods are these vampire kind of parasitic gods. The Nagas, and then they have the dark Muslim is this moon god, and it's parasitic. So these are really nasty, dark things, and inherent in certain people, or wielded, are sort of like, they're playing the foosball. They got their hands on the levers, and these people consume humans. That's their food. And so that's why this whole thing had to change. And that's why, Saudi Arabia is saying, we don't want to be consumed. We really just want to get to know you. And, that American dream is strictly for Americans. The Afrikaners are going to have to be able to, or be given the liberty to create their own neighborhoods and communities. And I'm sure that there's, they're not going to rely on the system we have here. They're here to help build a new agricultural system. And they're our brethren. The Dutch, these were the people that were up in Connecticut and Long Island. And they, they didn't want the new notions. They wanted to have their farms, and they had dignity, and they were builders and just, people of the land. But these were all big people. Like I was saying, they're really big. Well, Americans, a lot of us are sick because of all the Rockefeller crap. So, this is 100 years of poisoning, or at least 60. So a lot of people are, kind of dismantling from that, and trying to get their health back, but it's made us diminutive. We're not a lot of, big, healthy, strapping young men, 6 foot something. And no, people are sick. People are broke down because the system is so unhealthy. It's a vampiric system, and we have to dismantle that. But you can't dismantle it. You have to build to the good. That's the only way to dismantle it, is to build for the good. You can't do the opposite. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. You have to build the new, and the old will be replaced little by slow. And how do you do it? Share love. Share love. Indeed.